If you've driven around San Marcos at all, if you've been in the area over, say, the last 30 years, then you've probably seen what we call the Pink House. It's sitting right next to a busy road here on Discovery Street, and it looks completely out of place. Most people assume it's just some random old house that someone forgot to tear down. But the truth is, this is one of the oldest surviving structures in San Marcos, and the story behind it involves early farming, a deadly gunfight, a future California politician, and the entire house being moved to save it. So I want to get you the real story on what's behind this, what we call the Pink House. If we haven't met yet, I'm Michael Winter. I'm here in San Marcos, and San Marcos is generally known for its great schools, its homes, its families here. We're actually starting to have a lot of new development in the area. But if you rewind the clock back to the late 1800s, San Marcos was mostly open farmland, lots of ranch property, and this house sat right in the middle of a 6.5-acre farm, owned by a man named Wilhelm Meyer. He built the home here for his family around the late 1800s. At that time, San Marcos wasn't even a city yet. This house here was part of the early agricultural roots of the community. It may seem out of place right here, but that's sort of because the city just grew up around it. But the history of this house took a dramatic turn in 1907. A dispute between two men, William Doran and Gus Eliason, escalated into a confrontation outside this very property. During the altercation, Eliason was shot and killed. So an investigation ensued, and the courts ruled that Doran had acted in self-defense. And this is where the story takes yet another interesting turn. Doran later married Meyer's daughter. He inherited the property, and the home eventually became known as the Meyer-Doran House. Even more interesting, William Doran went on to become a member of the California State Assembly and kind of tied this small farmhouse to California political history. So if this home is over 100 years old, you can see it's not in great shape. Why wasn't it demolished like all the other homes that may have been here at that time? Because the city recognized this as one of the oldest surviving structures or homes tied to the early farming history of the area. And preserving it meant keeping a physical piece of what San Marcos looked like long before the neighbors and the shopping centers and the freeways. But saving it wasn't simple. Well, in 2014, the city finally got after this redevelopment of the creek project here. This whole channel would get flooded every time it rained. And only a few years ago, they finished a couple of bridges, multi-million-dollar project, and the home was right in the middle of all this construction. So the house now is several hundred yards away from where it used to be. I can see where it used to sit from where I'm standing now. But the city wanted to preserve it as a historic landmark for future generations. Another thing that people may not think about or know is that this pink house wasn't always pink. That color was added decades later, sometime around the late 1990s, maybe early 2000s. But once it was painted pink, it became instantly recognizable. And that's when locals started referring to it simply as the Pink House. The house is small, but it represents something much bigger. It reminds us of what San Marcos was like when it was all farmland, chicken ranches, and not the city it is today. And while thousands of homes have been built around it, this house remains one of the few surviving pieces of San Marcos' early history. So now you know, when you're driving down Discovery and you see this pink house, a little bit of the history behind it. Share this with your friends. And if you've got any local landmarks that you're curious about, give us a buzz. We'd love to look into them. I'm Mike Winter, First Class Real Estate.